Wow!
Three times.
Hey, there it is.
I'm trying. Look how many phones I have trying to get you.
Oh my God. I knew it was not for a lack of trying. I absolutely knew that.
For some reason, the Substack glitches like that sometimes. You're not
It
the first
does.
person this has happened to me with. It happened to me. I was trying to get on with Tara Palmieri, and we had a time, and it's just the site that's glitching. We need to talk to them about it because
Yeah,
no one should be keeping Don Lemon and Jim Acosta
that's
apart.
right. Somebody needs to run out to Best Buy or Radio Shack, get some 9 volts, plug them
Oi.
in. I'm good. I'm good. I was just going to say, I had so much fun working with you on Saturday covering the No Kings protests. And I was saying earlier, it's fun when we do these little live chats and stuff like that. But we were on for 3 hours. It was fantastic, and it
Yeah.
was really inspiring to watch. I don't know, what were your final thoughts
Well,
on
my
this?
thoughts, I told you, it was indeed an honor to work with you and Joy. I mean, look,
Yeah,
I've worked with you for years. We've always been, it's a mutual admiration society.
yeah, yeah,
Not only, do we think alike and we operate similarly, and
yeah.
I don't like to do false equivalence and all those things. But let me just tell you this. As I said, it was an honor to work with you guys. And when I called you afterwards and I said, Jim, do you realize what we did?
I
And
know.
if I can just pat ourselves on the back,
Let's do it.
you were
Okay.
out there working. Think about the technology and the types of things that we're used to working with, right? Somebody
Yeah.
putting on our IFB for us and miking us up, and we don't have to worry about the signal, and everything is working. We just step in there.
Bingo.
We did a network quality broadcast with just my team. My team was producing it, and
They were
just
beautiful.
my little team. And so we go live twice a day. So we know how to do this live thing and to do it on YouTube and on Substack together. But to work with 3 people who were in, legacy media for the longest of time and who left, I believe, with their dignity intact. And I was just for it. I was just sitting there most of
Yeah.
the show, just kind of watching and then producing from my phone saying,
I
bring
know
it back
you were.
video. And
You
then I'm
were.
texting like, tell Jim to hop in, get in. He's a
I know.
co-anchor. Get in there, get in
I
there.
know. And you were telling
Yeah.
Jolly, make sure the phone is vertical or horizontal. Yeah, yeah. That's what Don, you would not have gotten to where you are if you did not hustle and work your butt off. And that's why you are Don Lemon. I mean, you worked your butt off. I mean, and so did Joy, and I did, and it shows. And I think you and I had this conversation. There's some people who could not do what we did on
Right.
Saturday. I'm not trying to say that in a negative way. Just saying that you and I have done this for a long time. We understand how this works.
Well, I grew up hustling my way through
Yeah.
local news.
Yeah.
I hustle my
Me
way
too.
as a production assistant, on up the chain. I did everything in the newsroom, even a satellite speed coordinator. I was a producer. I was a field producer. I was an assignment editor. And so I had to hustle. And so, that hustle never left me. You're never, ever going to outwork me. And so, when all the trappings, as it's going away for everyone, all of that goes away, that comes back to you, right? I'm a
Yeah.
hustler. I'm scrappy.
You
I get
are.
in
It's
there.
true.
Yeah. And I get in there. I get the interviews. Like if you're in the field with me, I'm going to get the interview.
I know.
You're going
I
to be mad
remember
at me,
those
but I'm going to
days.
do it.
I did not like it when if I was at a different network and Don Lemon showed up, I was like, oh shit, that was definitely a feeling on my part. But the larger point though is the power of independent media and
Right.
what this is becoming.
Right.
That's
Right
what, and that's, I think, also what enhanced what took place on Saturday. A lot of the No Kings protests were fueled by independent media. I mean, I would do a show and I'd talk about this stuff, and people would exchange, phone numbers, and I'm going to be at this No Kings event and that No Kings event. It's kind of an amazing thing to see, like blossoming in real time.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
think that I don't know if we're at the beginning of digital media. Obviously, we are not. But as
Yeah.
far as independent media, I think we're pretty much we're at a point where I think the tipping point is happening, if you know what I
Mhm.
mean.
Yeah.
And if I were at any one of those networks and I was watching what we were doing on Saturday, I'd be like, oh, shit. It's,
Exactly.
it's
We're
over.
coming for you.
We're coming for you, and we are. And so, yeah, I just think it's really important. And I'm shameless. I'll tell you, support independent media, support what Jim is doing, support what I'm doing, support what Joy is doing, because
Exactly.
we don't have the corporate influence. We don't
Yeah.
have people telling us, as we have heard through sources, at, so let's just say some of the networks like
Yeah.
don't be too critical,
Yeah.
tone it
Be
down,
careful.
be careful about what you say,
Yeah.
you let the other side, let the MAGA folks speak and give them some oxygen. And it's like, are you fucking kidding me? We did
Yeah.
not have to pretend that this was normal. We did not have to sit on a panel and go, well, what do you think about the president's speech? And ho, 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 ho.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is, this was
Well,
his
and that's
birthday
why, and
party.
it's good that you brought this up, Don, because you were talking about how the whole military dictator parade thing, the Kim Jong Un thing, was a giant flop for Trump. It was a
Mhm.
giant flop, and there were some media outlets who were reporting it accurately, and then there were some who were pretending like this was still like this big deal for him,
Yeah.
and it was just a complete flop.
It was a flop. It was and you could see it in the crowds. Look, you were pretty close to it, but all you have to do is go back and look at the video
Yep.
and look at the crowds in the stands. Look at the soldiers. Many of the active duty and the veteran soldiers there said that the way that these folks were marching, the men and women in uniform were
Yep.
marching, it was a silent protest because they weren't marching like as if they were in North Korea in the military there. They were, and they said you have to be. It's really hard not to march in step when you're in the
Yep.
military because you're trained so hard for it, and they weren't doing it. It was it was embarrassing. There's no other way to put it. Even Donald Trump looked bored. And
I called him
to
Snoozolini. I mean, he
yeah.
couldn't stay awake. He
Yeah, but you could you have
the dear
reported
leader
that?
needed a nap.
I could not have said that without someone calling down going, "Watch your tone." And you're like, "Oh my God, really? Are you kidding me?"
Why can't we make jokes? I mean, give me a break. It's a proud tradition of what we do. A couple of dad jokes here and
This
there.
is him. Look.
I know. They go through all the trouble, spend $40 million to give him a Kim Jong Un parade. He can't. The guy can't stay awake.
But that's the serious
Wake up.
part.
Yeah.
That was a waste of $45 million.
No
And
shit.
I am told, and I'm sure you've heard this through the reporting, I think for some $30 million, they could have taken care of all the health care for all of our active
Yep.
duty military and their kids and all of that. And instead, they spent $45 million on a parade that was a bomb. And then there's,
Yep.
the other the Fox Newses of the world and the conservative media of the world saying, well, this was planned for 2 years and whatever. That parade was not planned for 2 years. There was a celebration that was planned
Yeah.
for 2 years. And all you have to do is look at the parade, you look at the quality of the parade, and you'll know that it was thrown together at the last minute. And one of the
Yeah.
reasons I know it was thrown together at the last minute, Jim, is because through sources that I reported um, in Los Angeles, they hired at the almost the very last minute a costuming companies in Los Angeles to send in um, fatigues and military uniforms starting back,
Oh.
yeah, from the start of the army, so that they could put either army or active duty soldiers in them to sort of fill out the parade.
Yeah.
So it was such bullshit.
It was a bullshit palooza, and to me, that was the most delicious way that it could have turned out. Because I mean, you and I were talking about, oh, it could rain, it could rain. I mean, it basically rained boredom, is what it did.
But it
It
did
was.
rain right at 6 o'clock when it started, though. Did you notice that?
I know. There was a little message being sent. I think a little bit. The other thing I want to ask you about is, and I don't
I
know how
know
much
what
you've
you're
been
going to
paying.
ask me.
Well, I was going to ask you about the city comptroller getting arrested by
Oh,
ICE,
okay.
which is
I thought that's
completely
what you.
nuts. But the other thing I was going to ask you about is Trump and Tucker Carlson going at one another, because I know you used to be in prime time and would compete kind of with Tucker Carlson, and Tucker was Trump's best buddy there for the longest time, but they've had a complete falling out, it seems, over Iran. Trump, during the 2016 campaign, used to go after George Bush over the Iraq war and everything. I guess now Trump is a pro-war. He's a war hawk and is okay with going to war in the Middle East. Tucker's against it, but I mean, what do you think about this? It's kind of interesting, and I don't know what to make of it. I
Well,
guess just fight.
I think it's interesting that Tucker is not only going after Donald Trump, he's going after Sean Hannity. It was mentioned
Yeah.
in that tweet. Rupert Murdoch,
Yep.
which Miriam Adelson, which is the money, saying that basically that these people are warmongers, and they need to cut it out because it's going to harm the United States and our men and women in uniform overseas. Now, look, I can't say, I'm not a national security expert, But I do think a broken clock is right twice a day. And I do think there is something to what Tucker Carlson is saying, if not the last tweet, but the one where he tweeted in March, where he said, if they start striking, um, strategic sites in Iran, that it was going to be our men and women in uniform in the region would face some repercussions for that. And I do believe that is true. So I
Yeah,
don't think that we should be going about this. People should be rah, rah, rah. Let's get into this conflict. Even whether if you're pro Israel or not, I just think that cooler heads need to prevail. And
absolutely.
I don't believe for the life of me that Donald Trump has really much influence in this at all. I think Bibi Netanyahu is leading it, and he's saying, "You check me, I'm going to do whatever I want." And Donald Trump is pretending that he has any
I think you're
influence
absolutely
in
right. I think that is dead on. I think you're absolutely right. And you and I are both old enough to remember what a fiasco the Iraq War was. And there's all of this confidence that, oh, when we go in, everything's going to be fine. We know what we're doing. We're going to take out these people. The United States military was stuck in Iraq for basically a decade. You had soldiers being committed to multiple deployments. I think what Donald Trump is doing right now is playing with fire. We're having to commit more and more resources to the region, and I don't think he fully understands what he's getting himself into.
no.
Honestly, and I think you're right. He's pretending.
He's pretending. And
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw, man, it was years ago when Barack Obama was president. Have you seen this going around where people are saying this was Donald Trump's, the past Donald Trump speaking to his future self when he said the
Mhm.
president of the United States, meaning Barack Obama, does not know what he's doing. He's going to get us into a war with Iran because he doesn't know what he's doing. And it's
Yeah,
like, oh, interesting. Now you
exactly.
don't know until you sit in that seat, what the possibilities are, what the ups and the downfalls or anything. You don't know. So anyone can criticize, right, until you sit in that seat. But I believe, Jim, that Donald Trump has no domestic policy agenda. He doesn't have a domestic policy agenda. He doesn't have a foreign policy agenda. There's no compass. There's nothing written down. He's just flying by the seat of his pants, not getting
Yeah,
his daily briefings every day, as you would know more about
yeah.
that than I would. And he has people in charge who are incompetent. Pete
Well, and
Hegseth
you
is
and
in
I were talking
charge.
about this over the weekend, and I think this is driving a huge part of his presidency right now, and that is he has no wins. He has no wins. He cannot win. He doesn't win on legislation. He's not winning on immigration. And now I'm a little worried that he thinks he can go get a win in the Middle East
In the Middle East.
by hitching his wagon to Netanyahu and having a world war in the Middle East. And I think what he's doing is very dangerous right now and saying, well, we know where the Ayatollah is and we control the skies over Iran. When you say we said earlier today, we now have complete and total control over the skies over Iran. So that means if bad stuff happens, that's on you,
Yeah.
Donald
Yeah.
Trump.
Yeah. But also, yes, you're right. If bad stuff
Yeah.
happens, it's on you. But also, hey, uh, this is how I know he's pretending. Everybody in Tehran needs to leave. All the citizens. It's like, why is it his business, his job to
Yeah.
do that? And this sort of the sky is falling, and like, I'm leaving the G7. And it's like, and guess what? Everybody there, and I told them that they should have made a deal. And that's a sign of someone who is not in control and is
Yeah.
just bluster. Him standing, going, I told him. He didn't tell anybody anything, and they're
Yeah.
not listening to him. They don't really care what he has to say.
Yeah, he is President Squeaky Tanks, as somebody was just mentioning a few moments ago. I mean, it's just this: the tanks are squeaking. The folks aren't clapping. That's for sure. And then what is going on? ICE is they just arrest anybody now. You can be the New York City comptroller. You can be a judge. You can be a member of Congress. They just go and arrest anybody now.
They arrest anyone. The comptroller
Brad
to
Lander, I guess.
Brad Lander, who is
Yeah.
the comptroller, and also he's running for mayor. And the election is just in a couple weeks, a couple days, really, I should say.
Who's
And
going to be the mayor?
he's number 4. He's running for
Yeah.
mayor. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Who do you?
so,
Yeah.
go ahead. What'd you say?
No, I was just going to. It made me wonder, like, because I'm not focusing in on the mayoral election. Who's going to win that race? Sounds like is Andrew Cuomo going to get beaten here? This is going to be a tight race.
Here's the thing. You should be paying attention. This is really interesting. I mean, because it's kind of interesting because we sort of know some of the people who are involved in this.
We kind of know.
We kind of know. But it's what's interesting is if you had asked me a month ago, maybe I would say, oh, well, Andrew Cuomo. I
Yeah.
mean, he was governor, his dad was governor, blah 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 blah. And I think I even said that on social media that he's probably going to win.
Yep.
But the enthusiasm that this Zoran Mamdani has
Uh,
is really unbelievable.
It's
He
interesting.
went from like 8% in the polls or 2%, I forget, and now he is neck and neck with Andrew Cuomo, if not surpassing him. He has surpassed him in enthusiasm.
Yeah.
All of the young folks want him, and the
And
thing
Bernie
that they're
endorsed him. Apparently,
yeah,
Bernie endorsed him. Yeah.
Bernie endorsed him, and AOC did as well. AOC has been speaking at his rallies.
Hmm.
And so the progressive wing of the Democratic Party is behind him. And I think Andrew Cuomo made a miscalculation. I think that many people in the party have made that they think that becoming Republican light, that would somehow save them, or, a conservative Democrat sort of center right. And I think the people want universal health care, right? There are even Republicans who want universal health care at this point. And um, what Mamdani is doing is he has capitalized his messages about affordability, Jim.
Yeah.
And it turns out that the number one issue is not crime. The number one issue is not, getting the upper middle class or the wealthy people their SALT tax, income
Right.
tax deduction. Um, the number one thing is affordability.
Yeah.
Mamdani is saying that he wants to free buses. The city buses should be free for working class and poor people, and that he wants a freeze on rents, and he wants to try to make the city affordable for all people, not just the wealthy. And
Interesting.
that has really caught on.
That's interesting because I mean, it's true. Manhattan has become this incredibly unaffordable place. I mean, they've been sort of ahead of the curve on not people not being able to afford anything,
Yeah.
and I mean, it's squeezing everybody. So that's very interesting. If he could somehow beat Andrew Cuomo, that would be a very very wild
Can I tell
development.
you
Yeah.
what really is throwing a curveball into it? This is a big unknown, right?
Hmm.
Or a level of, what do you call it? A difficulty, another level of difficulty, is that we have ranked choice voting here.
Oh, it's a ranked choice thing. Ah.
Yeah. And Mamdani's people are really smart because they're telling if you vote for Mamdani, do not rank Andrew Cuomo at all. And so,
Oh, interesting. So
yeah,
he moves down the list.
so he moves down the list, and they're hoping that he doesn't even make the list. See, they're like, rank everybody else, but just do not rank Andrew Cuomo. And if all of those people do that, that's going to throw a monkey wrench. But still, there's still the general. He can still run
Right.
after that, but it's going to be difficult if Andrew Cuomo loses to Mamdani. But we'll see. I mean, look,
Wow.
high name recognition against new blood, enthusiasm, young people. He's doing what Donald Trump did, by the way. I hate to hog the conversation, but he's doing what
Yeah.
Donald Trump did in that he is engaging and animating a part of the electorate that is not usually energized, and that's young people.
No, I mean, to me, it's fascinating, and I don't mind going on this tangent because honestly, it is the thing that is animating the Democratic Party right now. And it seems to me that there are forces in the Democratic Party that are resisting this. They don't want to go along with it. And it's to their detriment because you might as well go where the energy and the excitement is right now because everywhere else, there ain't any. You don't
Yeah,
have any energy and excitement.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
they're showing up. Tens of thousands of people are showing up for Bernie rallies and AOC rallies, and that's where the energy is. It just
Well, they're
is.
nervous. They're nervous that a lot of things are nervous. Jewish people are nervous because they're saying that Mamdani is anti-Semitic, right? Because he's
Oh,
Muslim.
okay.
Um, Also, they don't think that he's equipped to deal with the homeless problem. They think it's just going to be like another sort of socialist thing where they,
Mm.
are letting criminals out and, no bail or whatever that is, free bail or whatever it is. You remember that whole thing.
Yeah.
So they're concerned about the city becoming too progressive and too lenient on crime and homelessness. And then the Andrew Cuomo folks, they're dealing with the whole sexual assault and all that
Right.
allegations. And so I don't know if you saw the clip from there was a debate, and Andrew Cuomo said, "You haven't done this, you haven't done that, you haven't done this, you're not qualified." And then Mamdani responded and said, "You're right, I haven't done a lot of things. I haven't been
Oh,
credibly accused by many women of sexual assault. I have not ripped the state off for hundreds of millions of dollars. I have not done this, I have not done that. And
there was the whole
by the way,
COVID thing.
Oh my God. And he goes, by the way, I've done all of those things he went through. And he goes, and by the way, the name is Mamdani. Learn how to say it. And then he was going to go, he almost said, because I'm going to be the mayor, but then he just said, just because it's important to know. But that was
Interesting.
yeah. And it
Well, and
was,
I'm seeing here he's 33 years old, and
yeah.
he said he admires Bernie Sanders, calls him the single most influential political figure in my life. And he says, make no mistake, oligarchy is on the ballot. Andrew Cuomo is the candidate of a billionaire class that is suffocating our democracy. I mean, this is, watch out, folks. This is what we're going to be seeing, I think, over the next year and a half heading into the midterms. You're going to see a lot of candidates in that same vein
Hmm.
doing pretty well because people are so pissed off right now. They want real alternatives. They don't want mamby-pamby, let's tiptoe through the tulips and that plain vanilla stuff. But
Yep.
Don, I know you got a show to get to. I won't hold you up, but great conversation. And I'm
Thank
glad we
you.
got into the mayoral stuff because I've totally neglected that. So thank you for bringing
Yeah.
that up.
Look, come here, right here. The Don Lemon Show.
There you go.
Lemon Live at 5. I'll see you guys on YouTube. If you're at Jim, stay here with Jim. I'm not trying to take Jim's audience.
No,
But if
no,
you
I'll be done
have
by
some
then.
friends,
I ain't
5
putting in a
o'clock.
whole hour.
I'll see you, Jim. Thank you,
All
man.
right.
You're the best. Thank you for
You,
playing. I had such a great time with you. Okay.
you're
I'll
the
see you
best.
soon.
Always.
Okay. Bye
We'll
bye.
keep doing it. See you, Don. All
Thanks.
right.
Bye bye.
Thanks a lot. Okay.